Bueno, Piyu. No, Piyu. Bueno.
Pull the trigger, ride the bull, and cut the cold wrapped around your.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode here on American Alex Cardinale YouTube channel. I'm your host, American Alex Cardinale. Happy President's Day, everyone. President's Day is a day where proud Americans like myself and like all of you pay respect to our legendary presidents who were presidents of the United States of America. Now, the United States of America has had plenty of presidents over the years. We've had some great ones, we've had some controversial ones, and we've even had some terrible presidents. But presidents have a tough job. They have to watch the entire country and they have to govern the entire country. And that is no easy task for sure. So, welcome to the inaugural President's Day Bash here on American Alex Cardinale YouTube channel. I think as an American, it's very important to reflect back on some of the presidents that we have had. So this is going to be a fun way to start the week, and I hope all of you enjoy this inaugural fun little unique show I put together for you. Because as an American, I like looking back at American history and presidents and things like that. So if you're watching this video, feel free to be a part of the show. In the comments, let me know who was your favorite president or presidents, because you can have more than one favorite president. Why were they your favorite president? Let me know in the comments. Also, what would you do as a president? What would be your first action if you were to be elected president? Let me know in the comments below. Tonight, here on the President's Day Bash, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite presidents, and then I'm going to talk about what I would do as president. But right now, I am too young to be considered even running for president. There has never been anyone under 40 that has ran for president, and I'm not sure why that is, because they could be president for a long time. All right, so we're going to start by discussing some of my favorite presidents. And after I tell you who my favorite presidents are, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. So I actually have 4 favorite presidents. 3 of them I learned about in U.S. history class when I was in high school, 10th and 11th grade. And U.S. history was my favorite academic course that I took in high school because I'm a proud American citizen and I love this country. So it was great learning about the former presidents in the United States history. So I'm very knowledgeable on U.S. history. So my favorite presidents are the founding father of this country, George Washington. He was the very first president, and he helped create the United States of America. My second favorite president is a very controversial figure. Not many people like him because during his presidency, he had something called the Trail of Tears. And he also was responsible for the War of 1812. And most people feel that he was very prejudiced towards Native Americans. But the reason he's one of my favorite presidents is because he restored the American economy in a very tough time period. And he had very firm beliefs that America could be a great country. And that is President Andrew Jackson. I learned about his presidency in high school in 10th and 11th grade. My third favorite president is a favorite of many American people, and that is Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln did a lot of great things for this country, including abolishing slavery, ending the Civil War, and many people say that he was part responsible for ending racism between the blacks and whites, which could be partially true. And Abraham Lincoln was just a great president in my experience, in my opinion. He did end slavery, so he's another great favorite president of mine. And my final favorite president is a very controversial one, and I know that a lot of people aren't going to like him, but Donald Trump is my fourth and final favorite president. Now, Donald Trump, his presidency was full of controversy, but he did do a couple of good things. You know, like those stimulus checks, that was during Donald Trump's presidency. Most people will deny that never happened, but those stimulus checks were from Donald Trump's presidency. Higher work higher work rate. More people are working. That is due to Donald Trump as well, partly due to him. And the economy recovering is partly due to Donald Trump as well. So my favorite presidents are George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump. Post your favorite presidents in the comments down below. I would love to hear about your favorite presidents. So each year on President's Day, I'm going to have 4 presidents that I'm going to talk about. And this year, I'm going to talk about George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, and I very briefly will talk about Donald Trump because he's a very controversial figure. Almost sort of like me, but not as bad. All right, so let's talk about George Washington, the very first president of the United States. He was an American military officer, a statesman, and he's called the founding father, who served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. He was appointed by the Continental Congress as commander of the Continental Army. George Washington led Patriot forces to victory in the American Revolutionary War and served as president of the Constitutional Convention of 1787, which created and ratified the Constitution of the United States and the American federal government. George Washington has been called the father of his country for his manifold leadership in the nation's founding. George Washington has been memorialized by monuments, a federal holiday, various media depictions, geographical locations, including the national capital, the state of Washington, stamps, and currency. So he is well memorized because he's got monuments, he's got his own holiday, he's got various money depictions and media depictions, and he's even got a nation capital named after him. He's also got a state named after him as well. Many scholars and ordinary Americans alike rank him among the greatest United States presidents ever. In 1976, Washington was posthumously promoted to the rank of General of the Armies, the highest rank in the United States Army. So that's pretty cool information about George Washington, our very first president of the United States of America. So now let's learn about Andrew Jackson, another controversial president, but one that accomplished a lot during his presidency. So let's learn about Andrew Jackson, shall we? Now, Andrew Jackson was an American lawyer. He was a planter, a general, and a statesman who served as the seventh president of the United States from 1829 to 1837. Before being elected to the presidency, he gained fame as a general in the U.S. Army and served in both houses of the U.S. Congress. Although often praised as an advocate for ordinary Americans and for his work in preserving the Union of States, Andrew Jackson has also been criticized for his racial policies, particularly his treatment of Native Americans. A few weeks after his inauguration, Andrew Jackson started looking into how he could replace the second bank of the United States. The bank had been chartered by President Madison in 1816 to restore the United States economy after the War of 1812. Monroe had appointed Nicholas Biddle as the bank's executive. The bank was a repository for the country's public monies, which also serviced the national debt. It was formed as a for-profit entity that looked after the concern of its shareholders. Under the bank's stewardship, the country was economically healthy and the currency was stable. But Andrew Jackson saw the bank as a fourth branch of government run by an elite, what he called the money power, that sought to control the labor and earnings of the real people who depend on their own efforts to succeed: the planters, farmers, mechanics, and laborers. That is what Andrew Jackson wanted the second bank to end, because he wanted people that were working hard for their money to get their money, and I respect Andrew Jackson for that. Additionally, Andrew Jackson's own near bankruptcy in 1804 due to credit-fueled land speculation had biased him against paper money and toward a policy favorable to hard money. In his first annual address in December 1829, Jackson openly challenged the bank by questioning its constitutionality and the soundness of its money. Now, here is something that I really like about Andrew Jackson, because it's kind of like me. Andrew Jackson had a reputation for being short-tempered and violent, which terrified his opponents. Now, me personally, I'm short-tempered, but I'm not a violent person. But just like me, Andrew Jackson was able to use his temper strategically to accomplish what he wanted. He could keep it in check when necessary. His behavior was friendly and urban when he went to Washington as a senator during the campaign leading up to the 1984 election. According to Van Buren, he remained calm in times of difficulty and made his decisions deliberately. He had the tendency to take things personal. If someone crossed Andrew Jackson, he would often become obsessed with crushing them. For example, on the last day of his presidency, Jackson declared he only had two regrets: that he had not hanged Henry Clay or shot John Calhoun. Jackson's legacy is controversial and polarized. Jackson usually rated highly as a president, but his reputation is dropping. And that is Andrew Jackson. Now let's learn about Abraham Lincoln, a president that is beloved by many people. Abraham Lincoln was an American lawyer, politician, and statesman who served as the 16th president of the United States of America from 1861 until his assassination in 1865. Lincoln led the Union through the American Civil War to defend the nation as a constitutional union and succeeded in abolishing slavery, bolstering the federal government, and modernizing the U.S. economy. Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears on two denominations of the United States currency: the penny, which is worth 1 cent, and the $5 bill, which is worth $5. His likeness also appears on many postage stamps. Go $5! Go $5! That's Abraham Lincoln's money. While he is usually portrayed bearded, he did not grow a beard until 1860 at the suggestion of 11-year-old Grace Badell. He was the first of 5 presidents to do so. He has been memorialized in many town, city, and county names, including the capital of Nebraska, Abraham, Nebraska. Pretty cool. So he has names in town, city, and counties, which is really, really cool. There's a Lincoln. I don't think I saw it, but I heard about it, and I'm definitely going to watch Abraham Lincoln's movie. Unfortunately, Abraham Lincoln was the first president, I believe. I believe he was the very first president to be assassinated while president. So it's unfortunate that Abraham Lincoln got assassinated. All right, the last president I'm going to talk about is a recent president. He was our last president before the idiot Joe Biden got into office. And no, I am not a fan of Joe Biden. Joe Biden is one of the worst presidents, in my opinion. Now, no offense to anyone that is a fan of Joe Biden. You can be fans of Joe Biden all you want, but he's not my personal favorite. But I respect your opinion to like him as a president, because I'm friends with people who hate Donald Trump. So just because you don't like the president doesn't mean you're a bad person and you can't be friends. We can all be civil and have a difference of opinions when it comes to politics. So now I'm going to talk about my favorite president, or my last favorite president, Donald Trump. He's certainly not my number 1 favorite president. Hell, he's not my number 2 or my number 3, but he will be the final favorite president for today's show. And the reason he's on there is because he's very controversial. He speaks his mind, and when he speaks his mind, it's generally truth. I agree 100% with him. For example, he wanted to limit how many immigrants come into this country. I agree wholeheartedly with Donald Trump that we should limit how many immigrants are coming into this country. All these illegal immigrants that are coming into our country, they're getting welfare, they're getting food stamps, they're getting housing. What other stuff are they getting off of us? Most of them can't even speak a word of English. And this is the United States of America, where English is our native language. Most of them are getting free handouts. But then you've got hardworking Americans who may have fallen on hard times, and they're having a hard time getting welfare, food stamps, or housing. But then you've got, let's say we've got a guy coming from Mexico who has never been in America an entire life. But he comes here, he gets welfare, housing, and food stamps. How is that fair? And then you've got veterans who are denied services, and then you got more immigrants coming in that are getting services. So it's an unfair situation, and I agree with Donald Trump in that we need to stop the immigration, And we need to give more benefits to those Americans and those veterans who are struggling. So that's what I agree with about Donald Trump. There are certainly things that I don't agree with in terms of Donald Trump, but then there are some things that I do agree with, and the immigrants coming into the country is one of the things that I do agree with about Donald Trump. I also agree that he did have a role in recovering the economy because it's much easier to get a job when I had Donald Trump as a president than it was as previous presidents. So I agree with Donald Trump about that. So those are reasons why Donald Trump is one of my favorite presidents. All right, so let's say I was running for president and I got elected president. I'm only 29 years old, so I probably can't run for president until I'm 59 or 69 or even 79 years old, it seems. But here is what I would do as a president of the United States of America. The first thing I would do, you guys know I love tropical fish and aquariums, and I'm a tropical fish enthusiast. I would make Asian arowanas legal, meaning United States of American fish keepers can keep Asian arowanas. I don't know why Asian arowanas are illegal in the first place. If we make them legal, think about it. We're going to add billions and billions of dollars in the pet industry because people are going to purchase Asian arowanas. And if you look at China, Asia, United Kingdom, and even south of the border, Canada, they make a lot of money selling Asian arowanas. So the United States can make a lot of money selling Asian arowanas as well. Now, the next thing I would do if I was president is I would have a law on aggressive dog breeds like pit bulls. Pit bull attacks are happening more and more and more frequently over the years, and we need to limit how many people can get an aggressive dog breed like a pit bull. I think we can safely control how many people are getting access to these dogs by putting firm laws in place. Like, for example, you have to be trained to deal with an aggressive dog breed like that. That would be something that I would do as a president. That's something that I think would be great. And also, I would make Easter a holiday. Easter would be a holiday just like Christmas, and stores would have to be closed on Easter. And we would have to go back to living like in the old days where Easter was a holiday. So those are just some of the things that I can think of for today's show. I hope you enjoyed this special episode of American Alex Cardinale. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you had a great President's Day, and I hope you love being an American because I sure as hell do. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, American Alex Cardinale, for more amazing videos, like my 9-year YouTube anniversary coming up in 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next episode and the next bash, which will be our Easter 2022 bash in April. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.